very happy to have a foothold, to have this pied-à-terre in the Middle East. I think it's very happy to be able to, for its military companies to be able to sell their weapons to Israel on loans that are guaranteed, or on the more than $3 billion we give it outright every year. It's all of the above.
But do you think the fact that they're now so friendly with Saudi Arabia, Israel?
They're in bed together. What can I say? They are mutually self-supporting. They help each other.
But isn't this obvious? Shouldn't it be more obvious to more people?
It should, yes.
I mean, we all know Saudi Arabia are the pigs, let's say, but Israel aren't. And it's the way we see the world. And yet, when you see these two together, surely that should make it clear what Israel is really like.
Just different, but you could also make a parallel that Israel is so friendly with apartheid South Africa. It's all this convenience, and in Saudi Arabia, they're now trying to push the Palestinians to accept the so-called peace deal that the Israelis are bringing up. Of course, it's not a peace deal; it's a surrender. But yes, it's all political convenience.
I think the narrative is also that Saudi Arabia is becoming more modern now. So the fact that it's becoming friendly with Israel is seen as Saudi Arabia becoming more westernized and stop being barbaric and such. So before they were barbaric, standing up to Israel, but now that they're becoming friends with Israel, and standing against Iran.
Have they ever stood up to Israel? I always thought they were quite friendly all the time. No?
I don't know historically if someone does. I think that they always had to have the facade of being antagonistic just for their own population, but what went on behind the scenes, I don't know.
When you gave your, I think you gave a talk in the House of Lords when you published your book.
Yes.
Last year or whenever it was. Did you find any sympathy to what you've been saying there in Parliament amongst anybody?
Bear in mind that I spoke to an invited audience, and although I don't think this was true across the board, but certainly most of the people were already sympathetic, or certainly most of the people who were invited, who actually came, were sympathetic. And there were some very good questions, but there was nothing antagonistic.
Nothing
Antagonistic.
Well, I suppose it's easy for them not to be antagonistic when the whole establishment is basically supporting the Zionists. So,
Yes, there are many exceptions in Parliament, but collectively they don't have the clout. That meeting, you may know, that meeting was organized by Jenny Tom, who's been an absolute hero throughout this. And she was brought up on charges which fortunately were thrown out for a meeting that had happened just a few weeks before that, where it was the October 25th or so, 2016, where an audience member made some very dodgy remark, and immediately the Zionists fed it to the media as though one of her speakers had said this. And I was brought up on charges at the House of Lords by the same people, by people who had not been to my talk, because my talk was allegedly anti-Semitic. Fortunately, the House of Lords threw out both charges.
Because the trouble is, we know that these things can just so easily be created. I mean, they're like sort of false flags. Well, very much like when, for example, Ken Livingstone, who was had up being anti-Semitic, was called on his way up some stairs. I thought, well, how come the BBC cameras happen to be there just at that moment while it's all set up? And then we have that report from Al Jazeera where they have the secret cameras that reveal all that being set up by one of the guys from the Israeli embassy.
And it's ignored.
This is going on the whole time.
Bridget Patel is still installed. Bridget Patel is still installed in Parliament. She hasn't been made to resign. You know the lady who went over to Israel and had all sorts of meetings behind everybody's
behind
back?
Pretty whatever.
She's still there.
Yeah, she's
still
great.
Completely Zionized. Parliament is 100% Zionized. And people's refusal to accept this just prolongs our suffering.
We've got a British aid
It
tax
should be
now.
spring cleaning here.
We should.
Not wonder what they can do over there. Just spring clean it here. Stop inviting more criminals, one after the other. It's disgraceful.
Well, the thing is, the media are behind all this,
Yeah.
both here and in the States. And so whatever might happen is going to be presented only in one light every day of the week as goes on. And until that situation is countered in the sense that the truth gets out about what's going on, it's whatever happens in reality is immediately painted in some other light on the same day.
Right. Thank God for social media.
I mean,
Yes.
what I would say,
Make
the
it
thing
more
about,
better.
so yeah, the violence, the interesting thing in this country is that the violence you talk about Zionism, if you read, I mean, if one reads the early disputes within the Jewish community about Zionism way back in the early part of the century, it's very, very interesting, the big arguments that there were and the outrage from certain eminent Jewish people about what was going on. And that actually the violence that you described very well, you know, against Jewish, the violence against the Jewish values, Jewish identity, all the rest of it, is like there's violence against the truth, which has been going on right the way through the 20th century, specifically from the British, for example, establishment, whether it's American establishment, never mind the Jewish Zionists, you know, it's a collusion between all of them. Bolstered up then through the media presentations constantly of this. It goes right back to the early part of the century, within which the Balfour thing emerged, as it were. You know.
The problem with the complicity of our governments, I'm going to point out something which I think is self-evident, and I make no claim of conspiracy or cause and effect. I'm simply pointing out what's there. Is that the fact is that the Zionists have, to say the least, undue influence over the media here
Yeah.
and over the government. But that is also a classic anti-Semitic trope. So if we say this, now it's true, and now since the Zionists claim that they and the Jews are one and the same thing, if we say that the Zionists are controlling our media, deciding who may say what in this country, if we say this, which is true, if we say this, they do a bait and switch. Instead of Zionists, they put in the word Jews, and then it matches this classic anti-Semitic stereotype. This is what we're fighting, and this is one of the reasons why it's so important that we no longer accept this. That we
Maybe we ought to also educate people that Semites are Palestinians.
that's
So-
irrelevant, though.
No, it's a very relevant because
Why?
I went to a couple of the labor meetings about anti-Semitism, and they're just completely thrown like, no, we have nothing to do with the Arabs.
But why
They're
is that
not
relevant? I don't understand why
Because
ethnicity is
then
relevant.
we stop keep whining about anti-Semitism and start seeing it for what it is, which is racism.
Yes. Okay.
Anybody who uses, because, you know, why are you sticking to Semitism when
Because
Palestinians are
anti-Semitism
Semites?
is
That's
how
why.
they shut us down.
Yeah,
That
I-
term, whether we like it or not, it's irrelevant. That is
Yeah.
what they use to shut us down.
Now,
Yes,
I
but
also-
that's why we need to
Okay.
highlight it, that this is a European racist term that only applies for white Jewish people, and it does not apply to the true Semites who live in the region.
I don't agree that this issue of Semitism has any relevance to it. Everybody should be treated, it doesn't make any difference whether,
Exactly.
okay.
Exactly.
But I will say that I personally don't like the word anti-Semitism because it creates bigotry against Jews as some separate disease from
Yeah.
all other racism. No, there is racism, period.
Yeah.
And what we're calling anti-Semitism is one type of this racism against Jews. But it should not have this separate category of something distinct in humankind from everything else. But that's another battle that don't know if this is the right time to bring it up. Maybe it is. But
Yeah, because it was with the Corbyn thing, and we, they're having meetings all the time.
okay, but let's say that Palestinians are Semites and the Zionists claim to be Semites, but they're really Europeans. Okay, so what?